Hey everybody, Ninja Mama here. I want to piggyback onto the last video I did about coping mechanisms, coping strategies with if you're still involved in a situation with the narcissist and you can't just jump out right away. Um, I recommended, and this is also good for after you leave. I forgot to mention that therapy is very helpful. You can find a therapist if you have health care, if you have coverage. I highly recommend it. It's very helpful to be able to talk it out with somebody because, as I've said before on previous videos, sometimes, just your friends and family get sick of hearing about it, and it helps to speak with someone, especially someone who has experience in helping victims of abusive relationships. If you don't have healthcare coverage and can't afford a therapist, there are now a lot of online resources with licensed therapists, but you don't always have to go with a licensed therapist. There's a lot of uh, life coaches out there now, and you can find a lot of them right here on YouTube, and they offer services, and some of them are willing to work with you according to your income if you don't have coverage for therapy. And that is a really good tool, a really good helpful tool to use in your recovery, because it's very helpful to have an outside uninvolved opinion, because sometimes your friends and family, their opinion's biased, and sometimes they're not willing to point out like things that you may be handling wrong or things that you could handle differently, and you'll get some new ideas from your therapist or your life coach. That's one way that I've found it helpful in my life. And just for holding on to your sanity, if you're still involved in the situation and you're constantly being blamed and gaslighted and told that you're the problem, you're to blame, it helps to have somebody who will listen, first of all, and not interrupt you and put you down every time you speak, and they will give you that validation, and that's going to help with your stress level immediately. If you're still there, you're going to have stress, but being able to talk to somebody who can validate your feelings is going to help you to be more grounded, and it's going to help you to be strong for the time when you do leave, because you're going to need to stay strong after you leave. Got to be strong. Tonight's topic: what to do when you're being hoovered. If it's happening to you, how do you handle it? This is mainly going to be in a situation where you have discarded the narcissist. As we all know, when you do the discard preemptively to the narcissist discard, that is the ultimate narcissistic sucker punch. And their ego is going to take a big bruising when you walk out. And to save face, they are going to try and draw you back in. If not for anything else, they will stoop so low as to draw you back in so that they can then turn around and discard you to get one over on you. So be very, very careful. When you first leave, you're not going to want to talk to them. And tactic number one that I'm giving you is to stay away, especially if you don't have kids with this person. If you have no kids with this person, you have no reason to speak to them. Even if you're married to them and you're going to have to go through a divorce, you can handle all of that through the attorneys. If you have no kids with this person, don't speak to them. If you're not married to this person, there's no reason. You go away and you stay away. If you do have kids with the person, then what you're going to have to do is only text or email. Try to do all of your communication in written form. This is good for two reasons. First of all, it gives you a written record of all of your interactions, should there be a he said, she said moment during the divorce or during custody arrangements or custody hearing. Second reason, if you're like me and you're auditorily sensitive, sometimes even though you know you're not going back, you're firm in your decision, you're comfortable with your decision, you know they're full of shit, you know the words that are coming out of their mouths are lies, just hearing that tone that they give you when they're trying to draw you back in, you'll still have that physical response. Like, I had no desire to get back with my narc after I left him. But, like, when the first couple of weeks after I had left, when he would talk to me and I would talk to him on the phone or we would talk face to face, and I didn't even speak to him, period, for like the first 5 days. Didn't respond to his texts, emails, didn't take his calls, just ignored the phone when it rang. That's it. For about the first 5 to 7 days after I left. At some point I knew I had to speak with him because we have common children. So it did cause a physical response. My stomach would still do that flip-floppy thing, because I still had that empathy. My empathy was still there, and I hadn't completely gotten rid of it. Really good thing to just let go of all of it before you walk out that door. I was very close to being rid of all my empathy for him before I left, but I still had a little bit left. And it did weaken me. That little bit of empathy I still had for him did weaken me. And so, one thing I found, this brings me into tactic number 2, which helped me to combat that physical response during the hoovering phase, is music. And I mentioned this previously. It's also helpful before you leave, but after you leave, during the hoovering phase, music can be tremendously helpful for auditorily sensitive individuals. I would suggest you choose something that you like, whether it's country music, whether it's classic rock, whether it's Taylor Swift singing her latest breakup song. Maybe you're into Alanis Morissette, singing all about, walking away from her abusive relationship. Or my personal taste, and this is extremely effective in combating that physical response, is angry heavy metal music, and preferably listen to through earbuds or headphones at high volume. Very effective. It's gonna evoke that anger that you have in you toward your narcissist for the abuse that they perpetrated on you, and it's gonna help you harness that anger and hold on to it. And anger is a useful tool at this point in the game because it's going to help steer you through that hoovering phase. Because whenever you start feeling an empathetic response toward your narcissist, when they're giving you the crocodile tears and they're telling you how much they miss you and you're the love of their life and you're their soulmate and they need you and they want you back, you listen to some heavy metal music at high volume. I highly recommend Tool. I highly recommend Sepultura. I think in the near future I'm going to be making some playlists that you can use during hoovering. If you're a heavy metal fan, their lyrics are spot on a narcissistically abusive relationship. They fit the situation so well, and you will identify with these lyrics so much. And I found it very helpful in helping me hang on to that anger. And I'm not saying that you don't want to walk around angry all the time and lashing out at people and telling everybody your business. You gotta control it, and the music kind of gives you an outlet to, feel that anger, and then you can, when you listen to it in the car, and then when you get where you're going, you take your earbuds out and go on with your day. But it's very helpful to also reminding you of what you left and why you left it. Also, I think I mentioned in the last video about having those recordings of your narcissist in action. It's great to have those recordings, because if you start feeling that empathetic response, you pop in one of those recordings of your narc raging at you, or doing the little covert, oh, I'm just joking, but I'm really insulting you and putting you down. It's great to have some of those to listen to. Great material, very helpful. Next, use, this was something I wanted to mention about when you're still in it, before you leave. Don't discount your fear. Fear can also, like anger, it can also be a good tool. And in the end, that's ultimately what catapulted me away from the marriage. I started to actually fear that I was in physical danger, and that the fear actually gave me strength. My self-preservation and my motherly instincts from my children kicked in, and that really got the fire under my butt to get it moving, get out of this situation, get away, every nerve in my body was screaming, run away. So don't discount your fear. Don't push that away and say, oh, I'm being too sensitive, or I'm being ridiculous. That's the narc's tape playing over and over again in your head. Don't listen to that. Use that fear to help get you out of a bad situation. Depending on the severity of your narc, the fear may never completely go away. And unfortunately, that's the reality. You have to, depending on how severe your narc is, you may always have to be on somewhat of an on-guard status. Because you know how they like to stalk and lurk about. And especially when you got kids and you're going to have to interact with them on some level regularly. Although it's going to be greatly reduced, and you're going to be so much happier than when you lived with them. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off here. Since I'm doing these on my phone, it's better for me to do shorter videos. So I'm going to pick up the next tactic to use during hoovering in the next video. Thanks for listening.